All right, welcome everybody to Bet What Happens Live. We have just a few more seconds, excuse me there, just a few more seconds left in this half. So right now we have a 6-3 game. Denver, of course, leading by a field goal over the Indianapolis Colts, who just had a nice long drive there to cut the score in half from 6-0 to 6-3. Very low scoring game. So it hasn't been without its share of yards though. Matt Ryan right now has 140 passing yards on 12 of 19 passing. He did just complete a pass there to Alec Pierce. I always call him Alex Pierce, but it's Alec Pierce. And unfortunately, that cost me a bet there. I had under 2.5 receptions for Pierce, but Indy, nice long drive there to end almost the second half there. So we are now at halftime, and let me just quickly update the live odds market with what I am seeing here so that I have the most accurate win probabilities, the live market win probabilities. And it looks like Indy, as we bring up my screen here, is 29.5% to win based off of live betting markets. Wow. Denver is 70.5% to win. So with Indy trailing by 3 points, that means what we can expect the rest of this game is Indy to throw about 5% more than expected, and Denver to throw about 7% less than pregame projections. So, definitely Indy trailing by 3. They are going to probably have to throw a little bit more. Denver probably going to have to run a little bit more, but we are in this close game scenario. So I don't expect too much of a pace difference. One thing I will say, my colleague Billy Ward talked about this. If we come zoom in on the article here that he posted, he said if the Colts lead or it's a close game, one thing we want to look at is Russell Wilson's live passing yardage line. So if we come over here right now, Russell Wilson has 69 passing yards in the game, and his current live line, as we flip over to it, is 177.5. We are projecting about 174.6. So right spot on. Unfortunately, I think there was a spot where I was looking at grabbing Russell Wilson's over, but that window of opportunity has seemed to have disappeared. So I do see a comment here in the chat. Let's pull this up. It's gross, but live on the over. And I actually think this is a very, very interesting live over, because if these teams are playing close, we shouldn't see too much of a slower tempo here. Indy is going to have to force the issue a little bit. And our brand new luck rankings that we launched at the Action Network today actually shows there is value on the over from pregame. It liked the over, and I thought about taking the over at 42, was hoping it would get down to 41.5. It looks like that's going to be gone now, but I do think there is value in the live over. So I actually think that is going to be my first pick. Let's find where we can find the best over under value. I'm seeing 28.5 at FanDuel. I'm seeing 29 at DraftKings. So let's take that extra half point and let's go over 28.5 points as our first bet. In game, live over 28.5 points. These teams, if we look at the whole season to date, should have had double digits higher totals than they actually have had in actual scoring. And we're seeing it again here. We're at a 9-point total, but there has been some bad luck. There was the turnover. Teams just haven't been able to complete some first downs. That could change, and we are showing value on the live over here. So, I don't think it's too much of a stretch to ask for 20 points in the second half when originally the total was 42. So if you were to think, very often more points are scored in the second half. 21 could have been the over. I think there's some value on the over here. So we're going to take over 28.5 points. So I definitely think that is a good one to do. Will the Broncos stop trying to throw deep passes every play and learn to dink and dunk it down the field? I don't know. That's what remains to be seen. So certainly that's why I'm staying away from. I thought there would be more value on Russell Wilson's passing yard. Seems like the books adjusted appropriately there. Let's look at Matt Ryan's passing prop, because we do have for Matt Ryan him projected for 275 yards. The book right now, the books are giving us 264.5. So we're showing some value to the over, but they aren't going to start with the ball here. So let's see if there's any specific receivers maybe that are showing some value on the over here. So I'm going to come down to the Colts receivers and let's look at their live yardage props with 84.5 for Pittman. Now I know Sean Kerner, our director of predictive analytics, was on the under here, but obviously things can change. So 84.5 for Michael Pittman. Alec Pierce, his live yardage is 45.5. We've got Paris Campbell with 11.5. Ashton Doolin with 20.5, not 2.5, 20.5. And coming down to the tight ends, Mo Alley, 8.5. And that looks like about it here. Let's really quick check on the running backs as well. Going to be tough with the running backs, of course, because obviously with Nyheim Hines out, that certainly changes things. So looking at the receivers, I don't see much value on these receivers here. There could potentially be some over on Deion Jackson, but I don't really want to wade into that situation. It ends up becoming, what are your pregame priors, assuming Nyheim Hines would be out. And since he's not out, or since we don't really know, I'm not going to touch these running backs here as far as passing yards. So while we have it up, let's pull up the Denver Broncos. Maybe there is some value. We've got Cortland Sutton, 39.5 live line. Jerry Jeudy, 33.5. KJ Hamler, 17.5. And coming down to the tight ends, Eric Saubert, we have 2.5 yards. That looks like a nice, easy over, I would think. Maybe not. I thought so, but maybe not. Paris Campbell. No, that's Indy. What am I thinking? And Albert O. I never want to say his name. I don't see a live line on Albert O. So do we see any value on the Denver Broncos? I'm showing a lot of undervalue, especially maybe on somebody like KJ Hamler. Let me just make sure and double check. We've got everything right here. I do have him for 10 yards, and we're projecting rest of game that he is going to get a median of 8 yards. So right on the borderline of where we're thinking here. So probably don't want to touch that one. Jerry Jeudy, 11 yards. Yeah, I think, with Russell Wilson's passing yards being fair, I don't think we want to touch that. So let me check some more comments here. What about Melvin Gordon, over 30.5 receiving yards, currently at 25, just need 6. Let's check that one out, because I did forget to pop in Melvin Gordon there, which is a very good point there. So we are at 30.5. We're showing absolutely dead on fair value at 30.5. So not a bet I want to make there. I know all it takes is one, and they have definitely targeted him in the receiving game a couple times here. He does have 2 for 25. But, that is certainly, more than we expected pregame. We still want to hold on to our pregame priors here. And with the Denver Broncos leading, having to rush a little bit more, we're showing almost dead on value. Mo Alley just needs 9 yards. I think he gets 1 to 2 catches. Let's come down to here. We are showing a bit of value on the over. But again, Indy is not going to start with the ball. So that's going to make it a little bit tougher here to reach that. So Right now, I think we're in a situation where the market is pretty fairly balanced on these player props, but I do think there is value, sneaky value on the over as a total for the game. Real quick, let's go into the rushing yards because we haven't done that yet, and we can check in on some rushing props. Melvin Gordon, I'm seeing 46.5. And Philip Lindsay, 50.5. Of course, it's going to be tough with Lindsay and Deion Jackson because of the Nyheim Hines injury that we were talking about. We're showing value on the under for Melvin Gordon rushing yards, but they are starting with the ball. Value on the over for Lindsay and Jackson. So pretty much a spot I want to avoid as well. I think these are fairly well balanced lines by the book. And that's just going to happen sometimes. It's a good validation for the model when things are fairly in balance, because that means, you're kind of in tune with the market. You want to have those games where you are kind of in tune with the market. And then you also want to find some spots that, obviously you can take advantage of the market. So I do think the one spot that we want to take advantage of is potentially this over here. And a lot of that comes from our luck rankings. And also it comes from the fact that we're not going to see too much of a negative pace here. Now, this, I know it says -2 on the Denver Broncos, but that's a really small size with a brand new coaching staff. And this number isn't as big if, for example, if you plug in Hackett's pace with the Green Bay Packers last year, it isn't as negative. So I do think there is going to be some value on the overall game over. So that's kind of where we stand. I don't really want to touch any extra player props. One thing I guess we could check would be to see, what is the probability that Matt Ryan throws a second interception. So let's do 1.5 interceptions, and we can check the over under here. We're showing under 1.5 interceptions with some pretty solid value. Even with the fact that they're going to have to pass a lot more. So, one of those situations where he probably isn't going to throw another interception, even though they're behind, but he's thrown. I thought I was contrarian and took under half a reception, and obviously he still threw one. So he's just been pretty rough this year. So not going to touch that one as well. So I think that's going to do it for Bet What Happens Live on this particular halftime. I think our only play is going to be over 28.5 live total. Definitely like that one. And the player props, the market seems pretty balanced right now. So that is going to be our one pick for Bet What Happens Live. We're taking the live over 28.5. Enjoy the second half as much as you can, everyone. I know it's been a little bit of a slog of a game.